being able to help and support so much the human trafficking in the area. So again, if you have any question, Ibi, thank you for being here. Thank you, Shirley. Post your question here down in the live chat, and I'm going to be able to answer or have any of the speakers if they are addressed specifically to them. I see some raising hands here. And again, I wanted to stop for a second to say hello to everyone who just joined us on the Facebook page, who joined us in the Zoom call. We are here celebrating the World Day Against Trafficking. And by celebrating, I mean we are engaging in a discussion on what can we do to spot human trafficking, to protect ourselves and our loved ones from human trafficking, and what is next? How can we actually be part of the solution and not the problem? Okay, so greetings to everyone who are just joining. We have a bunch of people here in the Zoom with us. So let me go now next to Dr. Riel Kunene. She is an amazing individual. She's an anti-trafficking consultant. She's a human rights consultant. She's a best-selling author. She's the CEO of Swati International. She also has her own show, which is called Rise to Greater Heights. So I'm so happy to welcome you, Riel, here, and happy to have you here and share some of the wonderful work that you've been doing in this human trafficking area. And what is it from your perspective, the solution? What can we do about it?
Oh, wow. First things first, it's such a great honor to be in your presence, being surrounded by such greatness. And I just wanted to applaud you, Isabel. I always call you the Queen of Human Rights because, yes, you are, for putting together this virtual event in honor of the World Day Against Trafficking of Persons. So continue to advance education for all and enhance your global understanding through your trainings and programs. Good people, my name is Dr. Riel Kunene. I'm from the beautiful, beautiful Alberta, Canada, born and raised in the beautiful kingdom of Eswatini, which is, I know many, they don't know where Eswatini is. It's a country inside South Africa. So I am a highly sought after, energetic, certified Les Brown international speaker. I am a PhD graduate with a discipline in leadership and business. I am a coach, mentor, MC, well known for encouraging many to rise from mediocrity into greatness. But of all the hats that I'm wearing, the one that speaks into my heart the most is being a human rights policy analyst, whereby I evaluate and influence policies and policy changes mainly on gender equality. So my role is to understand current event trends and political climate to be able to make accurate elevations as well as relevant recommendations. So I am a true advocate for creating new policies that uphold human rights and prevent human rights violations. So my presentations not only motivate, but it also empower audiences with a fresh perspective, inspiration to pursue success and drive sustainable outcomes in a seriously funny way. So it's such a great honor to be in your presence today. I know my time is limited, but you know what? Today we're standing together to say no to slavery, no to human trafficking. And thank you, amazing host Isabel, for putting such an event for all of us. And by the way, I'm a graduate of human rights through her. So if you are just joining this journey, please stick with Isabel. You will never, ever go wrong. And I got the motivation after graduating to speak up about human rights. If I see any violations, I am your go-to girl in Alberta, Canada. So in the interest of time, I'm sorry, it's a Friday morning on my end and I'm getting tongue-tied. In the interest of time, I'll just go straight. What is human trafficking really? When you talk of slavery is a violation of human rights because, you know, slavers and human traffickers, they claim ownership on the humanity of another human being. So this strips human beings of their inherent rights, which is our human rights, God-given fundamental rights and freedoms. So according to the International Labour Organization, 11.4 million women and girls are victims of forced labor in different forms, including debt bondage, trafficking, forced prostitution. And these young girls and women, they have the right to be not to be submitted under slavery or servitude or being forced on labor or bonded labor. But when they are enslaved or trafficked, they don't have access to any of the programs aim to women's equality and development. But I believe there is still hope, because many organizations these days and governments worldwide, they focus on improving the status of women and girls by having systems in place to provide adequate protection as well as assistance for victims. Like Article 4, it says no one shall be held in slavery, of servitude, slavery, and slave trade. It shall be prohibited in all forms. So I'm going to speak as a travel professional. I'm going to share some nuggets on human trafficking that is really happening in the tourism industry. So I'm not too sure if I can go ahead and share my nuggets. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead, good people. I hope you are taking notes, because you will need this. You will need this information on how to actually spot and stop human trafficking, really, more especially in the hospitality industry, in the tourism industry, hotels, airports. That's I'm gonna dive deeper on those areas, because I've witnessed it, and I can also assist on how you can actually spot and stop it without being in a situation where you can call yourself like this is a dangerous situation. So we're going to dive deeper on that one, because we need to learn about human trafficking and how it impacts the world and millions of lives worldwide. We'll have to know where it can exist and what someone like you and me can do to help, because people end up trapped in human trafficking because they are vulnerable to being exploited. So once you gain the awareness, you have one of the most important tools needed to help. So what exactly, when you talk of human trafficking, what exactly comes into your mind when you hear the word human trafficking? You can just drop in the chat box and I'll come back and check if you have knowledge about human trafficking. Really, human trafficking is the trade of humans that involves recruitment of individuals into a situation of exploitation through forced labor or sexual slavery against their will. You know, traffickers, they often take advantage of the anonymity of accessible through the tourism industry. But signs of human trafficking are actually pretty easy for you to recognize, and knowing what to look for is a key aspect. So we're going to start with the airports and hotels. How can you actually spot human trafficking in airports? How can you spot human trafficking in hotels? The first thing that you should know, like Isabel mentioned, that they are actually dressed not appropriately for their travel destination. She can, like if that victim is being trafficked, she can't speak freely or seem to be like disoriented. And it is likely that the person that she's traveling with is more well dressed than them. So the person that is being trafficked may be carrying like a very small luggage, or even no personal items at all that she's going to be using for her destination. So that's the first sign that you can spot that, okay, this person is being trafficked. And then the individual also demonstrates like signs of physical or psychological abuse, like sleep deprivation, unusual behavior, and the overall appearance of that person may be like really distressing. And this includes like lacking self-esteem, malnourished, poor hygiene, seeming anxious, with untreated medical conditions. So you'll have to pay close attention also to a tattoo, because you know traffickers, they claim ownership to these individuals being trafficked. So pay close attention to a tattoo, or with a barcode that says daddy, perhaps a dollar sign or a curse word, because traffickers or pimps, they feel like they own victims. And to them, this is a sign that shows dominance. So pay close attention on their bodies, any tattoos, any signs that can just give you that idea that this individual is being trafficked. And the individual that is being trafficked also lacks freedom of movement. They lack freedom of movement because she's traveling with someone else who seems to hold the power, who hold the control over their lives, and they are kind of scared. They have a scared look about them, and they can't move freely within the airport or within the hotel or in the plane. They can't move freely, as though they are forced to carry out like specific activities. And the trafficker will try to ensure that the victim does not escape from their watch. So you can see that the victim is afraid to talk about herself without first looking to another person. That's another sign of human trafficking that you can spot within airports, within hotels. You can really tell from such such incidents that, oh no, this person is being really, really trafficked. And another sign that you should watch for people being trafficked into slavery are being closely watched, or they speak like they've been coached, instead of me answering what maybe the flight attendant, for example, the flight attendant is asking me a question, I'm going to be like, trying to memorize what I've been coached. And you can tell by seeing these people that they are traveling together, but they don't seem to be related or even friends. And the trafficker is more likely confident, but the individual that is traveling with the trafficker is overly fearful and shows signs of dependence on the abuser. That's another sign that you should be watching for. And another point, some traffickers won't tell their victims where they are located, and the victims may not even know the name of the person that they are traveling with. So you might find that the traveler can't provide details of her departure or even the location of flight information for crying out loud. So the victims are often not told what might happen next. So they might not be told what may happen next, so that they must always rely upon the trafficker in order for them to get by, forcing them to stay in their situation. So please, good people, kings and queens, pay close attention on that one. Another sign that you should be watching for, you may also find that the individual is not in any possession of their own legal documents, or they lack earnings. They don't have money, but they always rely upon the trafficker on everything that they need. Above all, kings and queens, fear and intimidation are always. These are two ways traffickers hold their power, with fear and intimidation. So after, I know my time is limited, but as you know, that this world is such a broken world to be, and don't try to be a hero after you spot the signs, but try to report to the correct outlets immediately. You can report, like I believe that each and every country, you've got a place where to report if you spot any human trafficking. I'm based in Canada, I know where to report, and someone in the US know where to report, someone in Africa knows where to report. As much as we need God to intervene in so many lives, knowing the actions to take if you suspect any human trafficking victims can make a world of difference. And of course, I can't share more nuggets on human trafficking, but I wrote a whole chapter. I wrote a whole chapter in my book, Human Rights, and thank God, my book is right here, Human Rights, and thank God, Isabel, she's the queen who wrote the foreword on my book. So you can just grab a copy of my book, and the chapter on human rights, it's on chapter 4. So go out there and you can get my book on www.risetogreaterheights.com. Because you know what, I believe that the sky is no longer the limit. We are here. We just want to rise together, and we're going to rise to greater heights. So go out there and get the copy. And thank you so much, Isabel, for having me.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Rio. Feel free, please, to put that that link in the chat so that everyone knows it. You've been having so many comments, and I've been watching down, not because I'm doing something else, but I'm watching the stream also on Facebook to see the wonderful comments that everyone. I think you gave us like a fast track webinar on how to spot the signs of human trafficking. This is wonderful. Thank you so much for your intervention today, everyone here, also for your comments, for feeling safe and comfortable to share things with us. Obviously, here at USIDHR, we are like a big family, and we support each other. And I'm so grateful for you that you're here. I'm so happy about your book and all the success you've been having, even before, but more since you've been part of our team at USIDHR and doing the trainings and putting it out there, the word that people need more education about human rights in general. And I'm so thankful and grateful for you, sister, that you are taking that torch, because that was actually my dream when I created a human rights training, and all these trainings that I'm doing is for you as the people who have been trained to go out there. That's why you're consultants, to go out there and share it with others, not keep it to yourself. Obviously, it's great to have a certificate, but when you share with other people, that feeling multiplies, you know. So thank you so much, Dr. Real, for this intervention. Has been very, very useful, hopeful for everyone. And obviously, for those who want to go even a step further, and I'm going to use this opportunity to bridge into our next speaker, who she's going to talk about human trafficking from a research perspective and how we can actually do a difference from that. But we've heard from a practitioner perspective, we heard from somebody who is able to go out there and provide advice to other people to how to spot the human trafficking, and especially the tourism industry. Oh my God, it's so important. And one of the things when I was in Romania doing the human trafficking training for the Ukrainian refugees and the volunteers helping them, I was in an area, very popular, Transylvania area, where it's like tourism. That's what it's based for. You know, everyone heard about Dracula's castle probably. So that's an area where like it is a lot, you know. You were talking about Canada. I used to live in Buffalo, New York. I've been right there at the border. I know all the things that have been happening there. So, but the more you know how to spot this size, and you pointed very well, if you're a flight attendant, but you don't even need to work for the airport. We are all travelers, okay? If we see something, we sit in our place and like a girl or somebody sits next to us and you see them and you paid attention to the sign that Dr. Real said, you know, like she looks like this, or she has any tattoos, or she doesn't speak, she's afraid, she's looking down, all these different signs, don't necessarily engage, but just it's nothing gonna hurt you to just forward a tip, you know, to submit a tip to the authorities, to the hotel. You can just go and tell the flight attendant. She will know, because most of the time I personally train, and I know many people who have trained, you know, flight attendants, okay, because it's so important. So you don't, like, if you see somebody in the airport, hey, gate, I don't know what, you know, and you're just a simple passenger, not only in the airport, the trains, everywhere, you know, where you're traveling and you're just a simple passenger, go to the person that works there, okay? Go to the flight attendant, go to the driver, go to whoever you think you can go to tell them. Don't necessarily confront directly the trafficker or the victim, because it might put yourself in danger. So obviously that's not something that we want to, but so for those of you who are aware already of this science, and I see a lot of, and I'm so grateful for you who are joining here and have a couple of questions, and some just telling more about their work. For example, Samuel here shared in the Zoom chat how he's been training and doing advocacy and awareness on human trafficking in his country, and he's helping law enforcement and local leaders to teach them this science. And I feel this is very, very important. The same, you know, Lucille in Canada, she wants to connect with you, Real, to see how you can both, you know, make a team there on the ground and cover more. Canada is a very big country, okay? So obviously the more the merrier. Thank you so much. So it was a great presentation. Other people, there's another question that I meant to take up in the Facebook page. Stephen is asking, how can we teach this as a fundamental level within the school systems here in the US? I feel this is such an important question that needs to be addressed. Obviously, I can't directly necessarily ask you, Dr. Real, on the US school system, but you can tell from your perspective in Canada, but I can have an attempt of addressing this. Unfortunately, the US system, it's a weird educational system, okay? Let's call it like that at least. The Constitution does not provide necessarily a right to education as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights provides, okay? So they kind of missed that point when they created the Constitution. But regardless, it's at the state level, education at the state level. So you have to actually, there's no way where you can universally implement, let's say, human rights education for all in America. You'll have to go state by state and try to implement this, try to approve it in the state legislature. But now there's another problem in the United States, because the school are overseen by the school boards of education. So then those are like small committees, and you have to convince them. The first step is to convince that whole school board to implement. And unfortunately, to give you my perspective, one of the countries that has been the hardest for me to implement human rights education is the United States. However, the dream is there, okay? That was the dream of Eleanor Roosevelt, the drafters of the Universal Declaration, and I still was able to do it. And you still are going to be able to do it in the US or everywhere in around the world, because you don't need necessarily a law. You can take it as your own personal mission to teach everyone in schools, school by school. I used to do that. I went anything from like middle school to high schools to universities. But one thing that I want to point out there, it's a lot of countries in the world, okay, they are making the mistakes teaching human rights or human trafficking only to university level students, and especially law school students, because they feel only lawyers should know about this topic. And I'm telling that because I've been there, done that, okay? So I don't feel it's fair, and I think I said that so many times. I don't feel it's fair in the 21st century that you have to go to law school to actually know about human rights or understand your rights and how to spot human trafficking. And webinars such as this allow us to keep a conversation. So Dr. Riel, you have a short input. We are lack of time here, but do you have a short input on how that works in Canada in the school system to make human rights come true?
Thank you, Isabel. Really, like you mentioned, like it's kind of actually hard to get your foot in there. But the moment you have the knowledge, start with your community, where you are with what you have. Start with your community. Like right now, I'm gonna be starting a bullying prevention program within the school where my kids go to. So if you happen to have any kids in any school, start with the local school that you have, and then you can grow yourself the moment you get started. So I would suggest that start with your communities. If you have a church, if you have a mosque, if you have anything, start with where you are, with what you have, and then grow from there, because you can't target like a bigger school if you haven't started within where you are.
Perfect. That's great. That's a great insight to look at, and it's wonderful. I know Canada is doing a lot in that sense. One of the things that if you're, if you want to learn about this, the first country in the world actually that has mandatory human rights education in their entire schools, it's Costa Rica, actually. And that happened only last year, 2021, towards the end of last year, in celebration or in honor of Human Rights Day. Costa Rica became the first country in the world that put mandatory human rights education in schools. So let me give you some thoughts, okay, some food for your thoughts, because if it was done in one country, once we have a precedent, it can be done everywhere, okay? It just takes a massive amount of work, a massive crowd, and every person needs to do their job, their part in this jointly effort, okay? It is not enough me, even if I trained more than 15,000 people so far, it's not gonna serve me alive to teach everyone about human rights, human trafficking in general, unless I am actually teaching you thousands of people. And that's the point we wanna make here. It takes a village to build a village in the end, okay? So we all need to do our part. Do we want to have the goal of having children, which are the next leaders, which are decision makers, know about this? Because what is human rights in the end? Is teaching you the values of respect and dignity. Human rights